process usually starts some sort of feeling. Sometimes that feeling comes from like a piece of garbage I see on the street, or I'm like perusing a junk store and something jumps out at me. And then these feelings that I've attached to these objects then start to weave together, and then they form a narrative. And before I even enter the studio, this whole story has already revealed itself to me. And this is the most like fun part of my process, but I would say it's maybe 10% of my time. And then I enter the studio. The title of the show is Yes Daddy. You know, in the BDS community, there are like roles you play as Yes Daddy where you're kind of very submissive, and I feel like this is Yes Daddy but for like straight white men. And it's kind of like they are very much Yes Daddy to like capitalism, to patriarchy, and these heteronormative behaviors. The theme of the exhibition is really focused on men's relationship to violence, whether that be sexual, whether that be emotional towards themselves, or whether that be very aggressively outward towards other people. And the show kind of unpacks these in like different ways, brings some humor and some darkness to all these things. I often choose images that have coded masculinity to them, whether it be like locks, tools, ropes, things like that. But then also they're choosing objects that have more of an emotional or ephemeral content with them, like a broken bouquet or dryers at sunset that kind of have a very David Lynchian film vibe to them. A couple of years ago, I was visiting Los Angeles just to see old friends and stuff like that. Not really knowing that we were about to be in a pandemic and there were sort of whispers of it happening. But a number of my friends were deeply paranoid and completely freaked out, and were having this survivalist response where they're trying to go and buy as many guns and as much ammunition as possible. I kind of thought this was like totally ridiculous and way over the top, and it was honestly freaking me out a little bit. But I kind of was left with this weird image from Gulliver's Travels where he ends up shipwrecked. It's a total disaster, but then he comes to fully restrained by all these sort of like miniature people. And this piece, which is titled Might is Right, is my perverse American Gulliver's Travels, my response to the absurdity of what was happening at that time. I started working with denim a number of years ago. It was during the Trump administration. I'd kind of been making all this work about unpacking American history and some of our lineage as like maybe a questionable nation, maybe not exactly the moral right that we pronounce ourselves as. At the time I was very poor, so I would often pull things out of dumpsters, make art about whatever I had. My neighbor was moving out and they were a fashion designer and they were throwing away this bolt of denim. And I was in this dumpster looking at this denim and it clicked for me. I was like, oh, this is material I've been looking for. It has all this idealism of contemporary American bootstrap masculinity, but also mixed with some of the history, sort of foundational capitalist aspects, which were very much in conflict with this idealized individual American. The title of this open suitcase is Be Prepared, which comes from the slogan for the Boy Scouts, which I was for a number of years, and it was something that kind of always stuck with me, like come to every situation being prepared. But I think in terms of contemporary masculinity or just American masculinity in general, being prepared always means being prepared for violence. So you kind of exist in your psyche, this space where you always have to prepare yourself for violence in some manner.